Hi, welcome to Tyne Valley Motorhomes. I'm Callum and this is the handover video of the Auto Trail Mohawk. So in this long locker, which is able to be opened with your West Alloy square key, you do have the location of your leisure battery. So you've got one leisure battery there, space for an additional. If you're going to do it a bit more while camping, it's probably worth putting another one on. And then you've also got your mains hookup point. So this is where you'd connect your vehicle to power if you were on a site or if you were at home and you were pre-charging the vehicle before your trip. So to hook the vehicle up using your hookup lead, you want to lift the collar and expose the connection. And then you want to connect it on to the vehicle. So it just slides up and connects on there. Always make sure that you are connecting the motorhome first and then making the lead live with either the outside socket at home or the side post, but do it in reverse when unhooking so that you're never walking around with a live lead. Underneath the long slim locker on this vehicle, you do have your grey waste water outlet. So this is dirty water, so anything that you put down a plug hole goes into a waste tank, and to drain it off you drive over the designated point on your site, turn this lever here and allow the water to come out. Always ensure that this is drained off before you leave site, as you don't want to be driving around with the added weight of dirty water, because there's nothing more you can do with it once it's dirty. And just leave the valve open when you drive and it'll rock any loose water out when travelling. And then making sure that in the winter all of this is left open to avoid any water from freezing. This is your external shower point. So there's a bullfinch connection which connects to the side of the van, and on the other end of the hose you've got a trigger gun. So you can turn it on, mix your water, hot or cold, but making sure that your hot water system has been on to get hot water. And making sure that your pump's on your main 12 volt control panel to get a pressurized flow of water to this point. Located behind the back driver's wheel is your fresh water drain down point. So this blue tap here, you'd open that if you've taken on a source of contaminated water, you're not using the vehicle for a while, or you're draining it down for the winter. You want to ensure that the tap is left open so no water can freeze and potentially cause any damage to the tanks and the pipework on the vehicle. So drain off the fresh, the waste, leave all the taps inside open, and drain off your boiler system as well to eliminate any water from freezing on board the vehicle. On the back end of this vehicle you do have a large garage space. So there's your unwinding handle there, located at the top. Your lights turn on and off at the top. And you've got two strip lights in either corner. Tethering rails for tying whatever you need to tie down in your garage down. Two 30 volt sockets, and you do have access from inside the motorhome as well. Also fitted are Fiamma security locks. So to operate the security lock using the key, you would turn this over your garage when you're storing the vehicle and not using it. Pop the key in, push the barrel in and turn, and this is added a second safety lock in the centre of the garage door. On both sides these are fitted. On the back of the vehicle you do have your rear bumper bar protection with tow bar and 7-pin towing electrics. And you do have your high level brake light and rear view camera. Behind this cover is where your spare wheel lives. So to get the spare access to the spare wheel using the habitation key, you pop it in here, unlock the centre cap there with the Auto Trail logo on, and behind there is a big nut which you would then remove this whole cover off, and the full size spare wheel is behind here. To fill your motorhome up with fresh water, so we've showed you how to empty it. To fill it, this is your filling point. It's a lockable cap so no one can contaminate your water or mess around with it, which opens with the habitation key. You would remove the cap, get yourself a hose pipe with some hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap provided by the site. Pop the flat end of the hose into here and fill until it overflows, or until you look on your control panel and see how much fresh water you've got in your freshwater tank at any one time. Underneath is your external gas point, so instead of carrying a separate bottle for your barbecue, you can use the bottle that's on board the vehicle. So you'll get a red bullfinch connection end which goes in here, and you need to turn it on. You need to connect the end of the bullfinch end to some orange gas hose and a Jubilee clip, and connect the other end of the gas hose to the barbecue or Kadak, and this will allow it to gain gas from the motorhome's gas bottle instead of carrying another separate bottle for the barbecue. Now this is your cassette, so to open the cassette locker, press both buttons in and release the door. To get the cassette out of the motorhome, lift the orange handle up and release the cassette. You can then either carry it or you can wheel it to the disposal point on site to empty. To empty, you would remove this cap, so your end cap. Some of them are grey, some of them are orange, just depends which cap's being put on. But you remove this cap here, pop that to one side. As you're pouring the contents of the cassette out, press the orange button here at the back. It allows a bit of air in and stops it glugging. Tip the whole contents of the cassette out. Once you've done so, there's normally a tap beside the disposal point. So you'd pop some water in, pop the cap back on, give it a shake, a rinse, tip out again, and then go in with a cap full of chemical, which is 120 ml. So you can have 120 ml of green liquid or 120 ml of blue liquid. It's entirely up to the sites that you're on, which they prefer. Cap full into here, and then it's good to go back into the van and be used. If you ever go for the cassette and you can't get it out, just make sure that you're closing the blade on the inside of the toilet, which I'll talk about more once on board the vehicle. This is your cover for your Truma Ultra Store boiler. It's very important that when heating the water on gas, the cover comes off. Only gas though. If it's on electric, it's fine, the cover can stay on, making sure that it's put back on for when you travel. But when heating it on gas, you need to pop your hand here, thumb there, lift it off. It allows the fumes to exit the vehicle, otherwise it will come up with a red light and fail because it doesn't allow any air circulation round here and the fumes out. If this has happened and you thought, oh, I've left the cover on, take the switch back off inside the vehicle, come out, remove the cover and just blow into this hole, and it will release any build-up gas that's in there to allow it to be reset, and it'll start to heat your water on gas again. To open your gas locker, located just behind the driver's seat is a lever. Pull that up and that releases the door here. On a standard vehicle you would just have 2 propane bottles, which could be Cala floor gas, which you will need to provide. But this vehicle has come in with 2 13 refillable gas flow bottles on. So when these bottles are empty, you don't need to exchange them and take them off the van. You need to refill them from an LPG centre. So what you do is, located here, you would remove this cap. This is your filler cap. You'd get your filler, which is on the pump at petrol stations. Pop that on, lock it on by putting the bayonet fitting on and turning, and then pull the trigger back, and sometimes there's a small little clip that you need to put in place to keep the trigger on the gun pulled back so that you can press and hold the button on the display of the pump and fill it until it stops. Something like this will take about 45–50 pound, if not a little bit more, to fill from empty. And you can view the levels of your gas here. So you can view them on the top of both bottles. And then to turn the bottles on and off, located on both, you've got a plus and a minus. You just turn a minus to turn on and plus to turn off. Or minus to turn off and plus to turn on even. but making sure that they are turned off before you start travelling, so it's safer for you and other road users. To operate the 12 volt control panel, to turn on the 12 volt system, you've got your on off button here, which will give you 12 volt if you're not hooked up and 230 volt if you are. And the way to indicate, you'll get this little line here which indicates that you're connected to mains. What mains hook up. Pump is your next one. So making sure that you've got enough water on board first. You can turn on your pump, which will give a pressurised flow of water to the taps, toilet and shower. You do have to have this on to operate any of those appliances. Interior light. So this is your master switch for your interior lights, and they all are individually switched. Awning light, which is a light on the outside of the vehicle. You've got your dimmer lights, which dims the lights by just pressing and holding in the front lounge. Power transfer button, so it switches which battery it's using. So you always wanted to use the leisure battery when you're using the motorhome. However, in the winter when you're charging it, you might want to give it a week on the leisure battery and a week on the vehicle battery to stop it going flat. And to do this, you need to press here and you want it to come up battery V. This will now make the vehicle battery the active battery. Just make sure that's not active when you're using the van while camping, because the last thing you want is for it to flatten your engine battery, because then you'll be going nowhere and waiting for recovery. So just make sure that's then saying battery L, which is your leisure battery. Finally, you've got your tank heaters. So if you're away in the winter and it's going to freeze overnight or potentially go to freezing temperatures overnight, turn that on before bed and it will stop the water from freezing. Up and down here you can go through the menu, but you can view things like your vehicle, your leisure, your fresh and your wastewater levels. When hooked up though, they do give a false reading for the vehicle and leisure, so unhook the vehicle to get a true reflection of what the batteries are. You can also view the leisure battery voltage, capacity, the solar panel ampage coming in and the amps coming off the battery, which is what we're using. The solar panel does go to sleep when the van is connected to mains, as solar can't compete with mains 230 volt. This is your ultra heat on mains to heat the motorhome, and this is your water heater on gas. I'm going to insert a clip on showing you how to use these, but as you can see there, both have got green lights on are indicating that they are working just fine. To operate your hot water on gas is the top switch. So your cover needs to come off the outside of the van, like explained when we did the walk round on the outside of the vehicle. So you can choose the temperature, so you've got 30 or 70 degrees, so how hot you want the water, and this is 10 litre capacity at any one time, and it will self-fill itself. So once it uses 10 litres, it'll pop another 10 litres in the boiler and warm it up. But if you wanted it on gas, you just turn down to the gas flame and it'll go green. If it goes red, either the cover's been left on or you've run out of gas or your gas bottle is not turned on. Underneath you've got ultra heat, so it does what it says, it heats the vehicle on mains 230 volt. So 1 to 9 is your thermostat. 9 is equivalent to 30 degrees room temperature, so you can adjust the temperature to suit. Off on the O, 2000 is 2 kilowatts, 500 which is half a kilowatt, or 1000 which is 1 kilowatt. So normally on most sites throughout the UK you would just turn up to 2, which is 2 kilowatts. On more smaller CL sites you may have to use 1000 watts, 1 kilowatt, or if you're abroad and they're not as generous with the electricity or you're tripping the vehicle out, you just have to turn it down, and you may have to use the 500 watts. But that's how you heat the vehicle on electric and heat the water on gas. To heat the vehicle on gas, you need to use your gas fire. So you've got your gas valve here, 1 to 10, push down and turn, and you'll hear it ticking away there, and once you let go, you'll hear it roar. and you can look through the hole here and see the pilot light. So I can see that that's lit there. So that's how you'd heat it on gas. By all means, you can put that on with electric as well if you're away in the winter and it's cold and you want to reduce the time it takes to heat the vehicle by warming it quicker. Use the gas for the first 15-20 minutes and knock the gas off and allow the 230 volt electric side of it to continue to maintain the heat. However, if you're wild camping and you don't have any electric, you will have to use gas to heat the vehicle. The heat comes out the fins at the front, so do just be careful with loose clothing when you walk past it, especially children. Or you can direct the heat, but to direct the heat you need to use the 12 volt fan, which is this side. So you've got off in the middle, you've got manual mode to the left, or you've got automatic, which is where the thermostat kicks in and will turn it off and turn it back on accordingly to the temperature that it detects inside the van. Whereas manual, you will have to intervene. 1 to 5 is just the fan speed, so 5's full blast and it'll blow around the different parts of the vehicle. If you're wild camping, you probably don't want to use this because you want to get as much power and as many days out your 12 volt leisure battery as possible, so you wouldn't use the fan, you'd let it convect out the front. However, when you're on a site, you can pop this on, and by all means you can pop that on as well with the mains 230 side, not just the gas. So this is showing that your hot water is working as it's getting up the temperature there. So your hot water system is heating your water on both sources correctly. To operate your hob, you've got 3 gas, 1 electric hot plate. So your gas, using the ignition here, so there's 3 gas rings lit. So you'd use gas, or you could use electric, which is this one here, which indicates with the red light. But do just make sure that you don't knock that when loading the van and hook up and you've left the hot plate on, because when that glass slids down and it starts to get up the temperature, it will smash. So that's why you've got to wait until this is all cool before you put the glass lid down. Underneath you've got your grill. And under the grill you do have your oven. There's also a part sticker here, so if you need any of the details of the oven, it's just on this door here for any parts going forward. Always make sure that these two as well, when you've put the shelf in, are at the back of the oven, because this is in the wrong way around. That just stops the burner from being blocked. When using it, that just goes in like that. Flush side to the glass door, and underneath you've got your plug for your 230 volt hot plate and some storage. To operate your Thetford fridge, to turn the fridge on and off, you would press here. Once you've turned it off, always leave the door open. Just underneath the door you've got a little toggle that you can pull out and clip in here, and it allows the door to not close and allow air to circulate in and out. Otherwise, if you didn't and you shut the door, it's got an airtight seal on there and it will start to smell the van over time. But to use, turn on here. This button here to your left does your energy source. So you can change through 3 different sources. When hooked up on the driveway, pre-chilling, or on a site, you want it on mains. Picture of the plug, hookup lead. This will operate as a mains 230 volt fridge. When you travel and it's down to temperature, you want it on the battery. and it's flashing there code failure 10 error code because the engine isn't running, and that's a feed when the vehicle's engine is running. It allows it to operate as a giant cool box and sends 12 volt to the fridge when travelling from the alternator, from the engine. But because it's not running at the moment, it's failing. And press again. You've got gas, and you use gas if you can't hook the vehicle up or you're wild camping. You'd have to use your gas bottle to chill your fridge and keep your shopping nice and cool. Other than that, you would use mains when hooked up. This is your temperature, 5 being the coldest, so when pre-chilling on the driveway the day before or 2 days before, have it on 5, get it down to temperature quick, and then the day before put your shopping in, you'll probably want to turn it down to 3 or 4, as sometimes 5 is too strong and causes ice within the fridge. When travelling, making sure that your shower screen is tied back with the turnbuckle at the top there to stop it from flapping about when driving. And when winterizing, make sure that you unscrew the shower head from the shower hose and lie this hose down in the tray with the mixer tap open so no water freezes and causes any damage to this pipe. This is showing that your tap in your washroom's working, so this is your hot water. As you can see, there's loads of steam coming off it, so that's red hot now and up to temperature. Across the back of the Mohawk, you do have the transverse double bed with access to the garage underneath and storage for your table here, so you've got a full standing table there that sits at the front of the van, or you can take it outside if the weather's nice. So this is your EC500 Sergeant Power Supply unit, which is in the top locker behind the driver's seat. So you've got your system shutdown button here, which will, if you've got a power drain, turn this off. This will isolate all the 12 volt appliances from the leisure battery, so it'll knock it off. This is your kill switch when standing the vehicle up in the storage, when not in use, or on the driveway. These are all imitated off the control panel. These are all your 12 volt fuses, so carry some spares within the vehicle. You can get an assortment pack off the likes of eBay or Amazon for between £5 and £7. Carry them within the van. If a fuse does blow, you can just pick it out and replenish it. All your fuses are here, what they do, what the rating is, the circuit description. If you trip the vehicle, try here before you try your main side posts, as you may have tripped the van, not the site, or you may have tripped the side post and not the van, but always check here first. If you don't think you're receiving power, one way to check is by tripping the van. So you've got your main RCD here. If it trips, you've got power. If it doesn't trip, check where you're getting your power from. And then you do have your reverse polarity light. That'll illuminate if you are getting reverse polarity, which is more in another country, not here. Your charger, which charges your leisure battery when you connect it, or your vehicle battery, depending on what you've got it selected to on the panel. Your space heater, which gives the 230 volt side of it to above the door, where you can select your ultra heat on mains electric. And your water heater, making sure that you've got water on board. You heat the water above the door on gas. On this one, to heat it on electric, you turn it on and off here. So you just want to make sure it's turned on. You've got water on board. If you didn't have water on board, or you're winterizing it and you were leaving it charging on the driveway over the winter, just turn this one off so it doesn't damage the boiler element, because it is just like boiling a kettle without any water in. And then each individual auto trail has a unique build number. This is your unique build number on this vehicle. And if you need any parts, just quote that number to any auto trail dealer. They'll be able to input it onto the auto trail system and find the parts fitted to your vehicle. In the next cupboard along, you've got your TV booster. So you've got an amplifier on there, so you can either boost the signal or bring the signal down if you're getting too much interference until you get a steady photo on the TVs. And you've also got a 4G Wi-Fi system. So the 4G Wi-Fi system works via these two cables going to an antenna which is on the roof of the motorhome. So it gets 10 times the signal that you get on your phone, as the antenna in your phone is very small, whereas on the van it's a large dish on the roof. So it's about this big on the roof of the van. Making sure you turn the dock on the bottom, you'll send power and it'll charge the Hawaii Wi-Fi router. Turn it on and you've got your two pigtails from the dock, which gives the box an antenna feed from the one on the roof of the van. You want to stick with EE or Vodafone and get a data only SIM card, as they have the best coverage throughout the UK. Smarty is a substitute to 3 mobile, so stay away from Smarty. Put EE or Vodafone in here and you shouldn't have a problem. Smarty is a bit hit and miss, as I've been told by motorhome Wi-Fi. Take the back off and you've got your Wi-Fi key, which is on the bottom line here of this white sticker. So that's what you'd key in on your phones, your iPads, your laptops, your Fire Sticks, whatever you're trying to connect to here, and you connect up to 10 devices at one time. And take the battery out and you'll be able to put your SIM card in. So it's a standard SIM that you need. Pop that in there, battery back in, key in the password once you've turned the box back on, and you'll get a signal wherever you are. Some places are still might be hard enough, but you should get a signal if you're with Vodafone or EE pretty much everywhere you go. Making sure these two leads are in the bottom, and then it just magnetically connects to the dock on the back wall. So now in the bottom of the wardrobe, I've removed the panel here, and underneath you've got your boiler, you've got your water pump, and you've also got the boiler drain down, which is this yellow tap here that's currently on its side. So when draining the van down to avoid the water from freezing, anywhere from the back end of October to March, when we're experiencing our winter and cold temperatures that could potentially freeze, the boiler must be drained down. So this yellow tap needs to be lifted up and flicked up, and it will allow the water that's in the boiler to drain directly out underneath the van. It's very important that you do this, otherwise you're in for a costly repair bill if you don't. Once you've done the boiler, you want to ensure that all the taps are open within the vehicle, and you've removed the shower head from the hose and laid that in the shower tray, and you've opened your fresh and your wastewater pipes outside so that the whole water system is drained, so no water sitting in the van. You also want, this here is your pump filter, and you've got a plastic cap on the bottom, which is a screw thread. You want to, once you've emptied the boiler, turn the pump on for 10 seconds and no longer than 10 seconds with the tap open to blow any water out of the pump. And then unscrew the plastic cap on the bottom with the mesh filter in and place to one side. You may need a tea towel because there may be just a few drips of water in here. Because what was happening is, when we're experiencing really cold temperatures, people forget to do this, and that cap splits because there's water left in it, which turns to ice. And then when you come to reuse it, you need to buy yourself a new pump filter. So take that off to avoid any damage caused.